Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji, Mataji. So, welcome to Sunday Satsang. Sorry, Saturday Bhagavatam session. So, we have today chapter 15. Before we go into chapter 15, Canto 9, let's start with a small Kirtan. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabho Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda जय जय नंदा यशोदा दुलाल जय जय नंदा यशोदा दुलाल गिरिवरधारी गोपाल जय जय नंदा यशोदा दुलाल गिरिवरधारी गोपाल जय जय नंदा यशोदा दुलाल गिरिवरधारी गोपाल 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 जय जय नंदा यशोदा दुलाल गिरिवरधारी गोपाल जय जय नंदा यशोदा दुलाल गिरिवरधारी गोपाल 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 गोवर्धनधर गोपाल 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 गोवर्धनधर गोपाल चिट्टा चोरा यशोदा के बाल चिट्टा चोरा यशोदा के बाल गिरिवरधारी गोपाल चिट्टा चोरा यशोदा के बाल गिरिवरधारी गोपाल चिट्टा चोरा यशोदा के बाल गिरिवरधारी गोपाल 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 माखन तस्कर गोपाल 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 माखन तस्कर गोपाल जय जय नंदा यशोदा दुलाल गिरिवरधारी गोपाल चिट्टा चोरा यशोदा के बाल गिरिवरधारी गोपाल 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 Gopal, Gopal, Makhana Taskara Gopal, 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 Govardhanadara Gopal, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जयो प्रभुपाद जयो गुरुदेव 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 जय गुरुदेव निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरे कृष्ण Prabhuji, let's go to the prayers. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तुते तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधारा शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपाकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रये नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः नमो ब्राह्मण्याय देवाय गोब्राह्मण हिताय च जगद्धिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांता स्वामिनीति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधारा शिवा सादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So welcome once again, Professor Mataji, whoever has joined, taking time today, Saturday early morning to attend this Bhagavatam session. Thank you very much. Lilananda Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Thanks a lot for giving me this
Hare Krishna
opportunity
Prabhu, Dandavat Prabhu.
to talk about the chapter 15 of Canto 9. So in the interest of time, I have to also leave sharp by 8:15 because I have to drop my daughter to school for her exam. So I will try to close it by 8:15. Hare Krishna. So let me share the Veda base. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Yes. So we are going to discuss Professor Mataji's Parashurama, the Lord's warrior incarnation. But before going into this, I would like to recollect actually what has been discussed in chapter 14 because the chapter 15 has got a connection to chapter 14. Now, Bhagavatam has got a very logical flow, very hierarchical flow, how each avatar is coming, Parshuram avatar, how it has come. So there is a connection to previous chapters. So chapter 14, the core message here was about the dangers of material attachment. Where was it explained dangers of material attachment? King Pururava, he has an intense infatuation with Urvasi, right? If you all remember, he had so much of intense infatuation that he could not stay away from her. This shows actually how even great rulers who becomes bewildered by lust and desire. His grief and wandering reflect the emptiness of chasing sensual pleasures. He was chasing really sensual pleasures. There were situations where Urusi set conditions, right? So she was telling, by that she would meet only once in a year. And she had put also a lot of conditions, how he had to be with her. So there were a lot of conditions set by Urusi. In spite of all these conditions, he had still longing for her. And then finally, what happened? Eventually, there was a breaking highlight how the fragile worldly happiness, it depends on external circumstances, how that quickly got faded away. How he turned, finally, Pururava, he turned to fire sacrifice worship because Urusi had guided him towards fire sacrifice worship, telling that, you actually try to focus here by following these rituals. And how that it symbolizes the shift from the illusion to the spiritual realization. That's the core message of the last 14th chapter. Now, by discovering the sacred fire and engaging in yajna, he redirected his longing into devotion. So, whatever the longing he had for Urvashi, finally that slowly got converted to devotion. So, Professor Mataji, if we carefully understand, the last chapter has slowly closed the Satyuga, transferring from the pure worship of the Lord to the ritualistic Karmakanda practices, to the Treta Yuga. So, this shows how by each yuga the gradual decline happened in the spiritual focus, right? Okay, so we'll go with the shloka one. Let me go to the shloka directly. Are you able to see the screen, Professor Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Okay. Sloka 1, Srimad Bhagavatam 9.15.1. Shri Bharadarayanir Uvacha Ailasya Korvasi Garbhat Sadasan Atmajan Rupa Ayuhu Shrutyayuhu Satyayu Rayo Ata Vijayo Jayaha. Hare Krishna. Translation purport by Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sukadeva Goswami continued, O King Parikshit, from the womb of Urvashi, six sons were generated by Pururava. Their names were Ayu, Srutyayu, Satyayu, Raja, Vijaya, and Jaya. So here, if you see Professor Mataji's, the way the name is taken, what is his name? Sri Badara, how is called? Badarayinaiha. and he's nothing but Sri Sukhdev Goswami. And what we should understand, the story we are going to talk about is coming from Ailasya dynasty. You see here, the sloka says, Ailasya Korvasi Garbhat. Ailasya dynasty, in that dynasty, Urvasi Garbhat. That means the union of Urvasi and Pururava, and Urvasi became pregnant. And from the pregnancy, who all has come? That's what is mentioned here, right? So we'll go to quickly to Sloka 2. So 6 sons are generated, and we see here the hierarchy, how the 6 sons actually, the progeny continued for generations and generations, how finally Parashurama has evolved. Sloka 2 and 3. Srutyayorvasuman putraha satyayoschа Sruchanjayaha Rayasya Suta Ekascha Jayasya Tanayom Amitaha Bhimastu Vijaya Sayatha Kanchano Hotra Kastata Tasya Janaho Suto Gangam Gandhushi Krutyaya Yo Apibat. Translation: the son of Srutyayu was Vasuman, the son of Satyayu Sruchanjaya, the son of Rayu Eka, the son of Jaya Amita, the son of Vijaya Bhima, the son of Bhima was Kanchana, the son of Kanchana was Hotraka, and the son of Hotraka was Janu, and who drank all the water of the Ganges in one sip. So, Professor Mataji, there is a big hierarchy here. It is mentioned, the generation. What I did for the convenience, I made. Are you able to see the screen? I made a small table with which you can clearly see and understand. Are you able to see that, Professor Mataji?
Yes.
See here, the 6 sons, Ayu, Srutyayu, Satyayu, Raya, Jaya, and Vijaya. And the Vasuman is the son of Srutyayu. Srutyanjaya is the son of Satyayu. Eka is the son of Raya. Amita is the son of Jaya. And finally, Bhima is the son of Vijaya. Now, how that it continues from Bhima, we will see. So here, Professor Mataji, you see here, son of Hotaraka was Janu, who drank all the water of the Ganges in one sip. If you remember, in the last weekend session, His Grace Manoram Krishnadas Prabhuji, he has told exactly this story. How many of you remember, Professor Mataji? Anyone remember this story? This was told in Bhakti Center about this Bhagirath Tapasya and how actually the Ganga came and how actually Janu Muni, he has actually drank the complete Ganga. Okay, in the interest of time, I will just tell the story. So Bhagiratha, we all know that he has done a big tapasya. Why he has done the tapasya? Because he has performed several austerities to bring the Ganga down from the heaven to purify the ashes of his ancestors, right? Now, there is actually very important personality's role here to bring Ganga down to earth. Who was that? Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva, he had to prevent the torrential force of the destroying that. Otherwise, what will happen? The Ganga will come with a lot of force and earth cannot take it. Bhudevi cannot take it, that force. So what happens actually? So Bhagirath requests Shiva to take a role to hold Ganga on his Jata Jotam, so that then Ganga comes from his Jata Jotam, then finally to the Mother Earth. So then Shiva has agreed to that, and Lord Shiva caught Ganga in his matted locks and finally released Ganga onto the earth, right? Now what happened? The Ganga is flowing so vigorously, so violently, so mightily that it inundated the ashram of sage Janu. And who is Janu here? The son of Bhima, right? Now, yeah, son of Bhima. Now, this Janu Muni, so he got really infuriated that, that Ganga has inundated his hermitage. So what happened? He drank the complete Ganga in one sip. Up, the complete Ganga vanished. But then Bhagirath, he was completely perplexed. What is this? What happened? He was actually going and Ganga was following him. But then when he had looked back, there was no Ganga. So then he has pleaded Janu Muni, asking to release Ganga, explained all the story why Ganga had to come to earth and to purify the ashes of his ancestor. All the story. Finally, Janu Muni agreed and he had let the Ganga to go out through his ear. And then he agreed agreed the Ganga to be his daughter. So that is why the Ganga is also called Jahnavi, as like daughter of Janu. right? Any questions here, Prabhupada and Matajis? Shall we proceed to next sloka?
Yes, Prabhu.
Santosh Prabhu, can you please help me to read this?
The sloka, Prabhu.
Yes, please, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Janostu purustasyata balakश्चत्मदो अजकः तत कुशस्यापि कुशम्बुस्तनयो वसुः कुशनाभाश्च चत्वारो घाधिर् असित कुसुम्बुजा. Shall I
Hare
read the
Krishna.
translation, Prabhu? Also?
Yes, Prabhu, please.
The son of Janu was Puru. The son of Puru was Balaka. The son of Balaka was Ajaka. And the son of Ajaka was Kusha. Kusha had four sons named Kushambu, Tanaya, Vasu, Kushanaba. The son of Kushanaba was Gadi. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Hare Krishna. So again, here again, the lot of new names are there. For the convenience, again, the same table I would continue to show how that hierarchy, the family hierarchy is going. So from Bhima, Kanchana came. From Kanchana, Hotraka. Hotraka son was Janu, and now Janu's son is Puru. Puru's son is Balaka, Ajaka, Kusha, and finally Kusha had three sons: Kushambu, Tanaya, and Vasu. And Ghadi is the son of Kushambho, right? So this table we will continue to see how finally Parshurama, the final ancestors of Parshurama are. We will continue with the text 5 to 6. I will read here. Tasya satyavatim kanyam achiko yachata dvijaha varam visadarsham matva gadhir bhargavam abravit ekatah syama karnanam hayanam chandra varchasam sahasram diyatam sulkham kanyayah kushikavayam. Translation purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. King Ghadi had a daughter named Satyavati, whom a Brahmana sage named Richika, Richika requested from the king to be his wife. King Ghadi, however, regarded Richika as an unfit husband for his daughter, and therefore he told the Brahmana, "My dear sir, I belong to the dynasty of Kusha. Because we are aristocratic Kshatriyas, you have to give some dowry for my daughter. Therefore, bring at least 1,000 horses, each as brilliant as moonshine, and each having one black ear, whether right or left." So, Prabhuji and Matajis, what do we really understand here? So again, let me put, to understand further. Now, King Gadi, okay, the daughter is Satyavati, right? And Satyavati, actually, Archika Muni, he wanted to marry Satyavati. But then there is a condition put by Gadi. What was that condition? He asked, being that, we are coming from an aristocratic king, dynasty of the kings, I insist that, you give some dowry to my daughter. So why dowry, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna? Why dowry here? In those days, in Treta Yuga or Satyuga, the dowry system also existed. And again here, the dowry system has got some purpose. The dowry is actually a test of determination here. Because here, the Ghadi want to really understand how much this Achika money is really willing to marry his daughter, Satyavati, right? So Prabhupada here explains that, sometimes kings sometimes imposed extraordinary conditions to test the resolve of sages. So purposefully they test so that they really understand how much resolute a sadhu is, right? In this case, Ghadi wanted to ensure that Archika was serious and capable to get married to his daughter, right? And if you see, there are two varnas here. Basically, you see Kshatriyas and also the Brahmana. And it is clearly seen that the Kshatriya and Brahmana, they are getting into relation here. So it was not that, like how we have today's generation, the Kshatriyas should get married to only Kshatriyas, the Brahmanas should get married to only Brahmanas. Purely, as Prabhupada said, it's always basing on the type of guna we exhibit, the type of varna also follows, right? So here in this lecture, Prabhupada highlighted clearly how Kshatriya often consider themselves superior. You see here, that as a Kshatriya, because he's a Kshatriya, he's demanding a bribe from the Brahmana. He knows that he's a Brahmana, but still he has insisted to get the dowry because he want to test, is he really capable or not, right? Actually, these are all very simple shlokas. We'll go fast. Shloka 7, can anyone help Prabhuji Mataji to read this?
Can I do, Prabhuji? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please. Thank you, Mataji, please.
Srimad Bhagavatam 9.15.7. इत्युक्तस्तन्मतं ज्ञात्वा गतः स वरुणान्तिकम् आनीय दत्त्वा तान् अश्वान् उपयेमे वराननाम्.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, please help me with translation also.
Yeah, translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When King Gadhi made this demand, the great sage Richika could understand the king's mind. Therefore, he went to the demigod Varuna and brought from him the 1,000 horses that Gadhi had demanded. After delivering these horses, the sage married the king's beautiful daughter. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. When King Gadhi made this demand, the great sage Richika could understand the king's mind. He could understand that actually he knows that I'm a Brahmana, but he want to test me, I'm capable or not, right? So, though he's a sage, he could make out. He's a sage. Of course, he knows what is going in other person's mind, right? But then you see here, therefore he went to the demigod Varuna. So, can anyone guess why he went to demigod Varuna? Why he could not go directly to Lord Vishnu? Or he could have asked any other person. Why he went to the demigod Varuna? Just a wild guess. Any guess? See, what type of bribe he has? He want actually horses which are very shiny, and either of these ears should be black, right? So it's a very, such type of horses are not easily available. They should be some divine horses. Normally in those yugas, if something divine has to come, it has to come from ocean. We see, if you all remember that, the Sagar Madhanam is done, so many celestial beings have come out of the ocean. So that is the intention here, that such horses can come only from the ocean. And who is the adipati for the ocean or water here? It's Varuna Dev. So this sage Richika, he understood clearly only Varuna Dev can help me. Obviously he knows that Lord Narayan can also help him, but he also understands as a sage, he is so knowledgeable that for all these such materialistic things he should request the devatas but not the Lord Narayana. So he has actually prayed Varuna Dev, requesting if he can help him to give this bribe to the king, right? Now, one more thing what we have to see, Professor Mataji is here. We have to understand in those days, the relation between the devatas and the sages, it was so tight that, finally, if there is something, the dharma need to be established, the devatas used to help the sages to establish the dharma by granting the boons, whatever the sages are asking. So here we also see the marriage is established as a dharmic institution. So Prabhupada emphasizes that marriages in Vedic culture were always arranged with a spiritual purpose, not just mere social convenience. What is the spiritual purpose here? Because this union of Satyavati and King Richika should go further to bring Parshuram further down. So that is the final spiritual purpose. So this union was destined to produce Jamadagni and Parshurama finally. Okay. So here we also understand in Bhagavad Gita 4.13 clearly it shows the varnas are created by the qualities and work, but not by just by the birth, right? So this marriage is again clearly linked between Brahmana and Kshatriya lineages, showing clearly how the divine arrangement transcends the rigid social pride, right? So we'll go to the next shloka. All simple shlokas. 9.1, 15.8. Anyone can help me, Professor Mataji, please?
Hare Krishna, can I?
Yeah, please, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Karishi prarte patnya swasarva chaptya kamya srapya vayor mantra is charum snatram gato muni. Translation. Thereafter, Ruchika, Ruchika Muni's wife and mother-in-law, each desiring a son, requested the Muni to prepare an oblation. Thus, Ruchika Muni prepared one oblation for his wife with a Brahmana mantra and another for his mother-in-law with a Kshatriya mantra. Then he went out to bathe.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So, Prabhuji Mataji, here we see the Richka Muni's wife, Ruchika Muni's wife, and mother-in-law, each desiring a son. So, it was very common that both the daughter and mother both wanted to have a son. And what did they do? They requested the Muni to prepare an oblation. Oblation is basically something like, small prasad with offering actually to God. But here, because they wanted to have a son, so Richika Muni prepared an oblation with his wife with a Brahmana mantra and another one for his mother-in-law, a Kshatriya mantra. So two mantras specially he has actually spelled on the oblations and he has asked them to eat, right? And then he went to bed. So what we have to understand, the mantras are not just arbitrary sounds. Professor Mataji, we have to clearly understand, in this Kali Yuga, we use the words so, loosely. The tongue is like, it can talk anything. We don't really bother to understand, okay, this is a good word or a bad word. How is this going to affect me? We never really bother to understand. But every sound that we utter has got some impact. That is exactly what this mantra is clearly telling. He has spelled two different mantras. One is Brahmana mantra and one is Kshatriya mantra. So that he wanted to have a Brahmana kid and his mother-in-law who is actually coming Kshatriya family. So he wanted to bless her with a Kshatriya. But what happened here when he went to bath, we will see in the next sloka. Okay, I will only read. Srimad Bhagavatam 9.15.9. तावत् सत्यवती मात्रा स्वाचारुं याचिता सती श्रेष्ठां मत्वा तया याच्छं मात्रे मातुरदत् स्वयं. Translation purport Basic Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Meanwhile, because Satyavati's mother thought that the oblation prepared for her daughter, Ruchika's wife, must be better, she asked her daughter for that oblation. Satyavati therefore gave her own oblation to her mother and ate her mother's oblation herself. Prabhujis and Matajis, you see here, there is a divine intervention here. If you carefully observe, it's not, out of a fluke it is done. Satyavati's mother, who felt that Ruchika normally, who has a lot of love, right, for his wife. Normally, any person will have first preference to his wife, then later to mother-in-law or anyone else. So she thought that because Ruchika loves his wife more, then probably in that oblation, whatever is given must be more potential. So what she did, she said she went to her daughter Satyavati and she said, please give that oblation to me and take mine. And Satyavati, being a very, very nice, obliged daughter, she said, okay, mother, you please take mine and I will take yours. You see here, there is a divine intervention. And what is the divine intervention? Why this situation happened? It's all Leela of finally, the Supreme Lord, right? So how this Leela turned into what consequence, that we will see in the next slide. Sloka 10. Tad vidhita munihi praha patnim kastam akarshihi goro dandadara putro bhratate brahma vittamaha. Translation by Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When the great sage Ruchika returned home after bathing and understood what had happened in his absence, he said to his wife Satyavati, you have done a great wrong. Your son will be a fierce Kshatriya, able to punish everyone, and your brother will be a learned scholar in spiritual science. So what happened here, Professor Mataji? Since the oblations got exchanged, there is a problem here. The Ruchika Muni is telling that, hey, I wanted to have a Brahmana son, and you gave this oblation to your mother, and now you ate actually the mantra, the oblation which has got the Kshatriya mantra. So because of which, what is going to happen? You are going to get a fierce Kshatriya who can punish everyone. And your brother, that means Satyavati's mother's son, will be brother, right? So your brother will be a learned scholar in spiritual science. He got really angry, obviously, right? He is a sage and he wanted to have another son as a sage. So we have to understand here, I will show you again something. This is also covers the next sloka, but still it is helpful to understand. You see, Ghadi daughter is Satyavati, and Satyavati got married to Ruchika Muni, right? That's what we are seeing. Now, because Satyavati has eaten actually the oblation which is filled with Brahmana mantra, she is blessed with Jamadagni, and the mother Gadi, Satyavati's mother actually ate the Kshatriya mantra oblation. So, sorry, she ate the Brahmana mantra oblation. So, she got blessed with Viswamitra, who is a spiritual scholar, right? So, this is how it goes. And what happened to Jamadagni, that we will see in the next slides. And here, yeah. So what we have to understand here, Professor Mathur, as I said, this is a divine arrangement. It's not just a mistake. We feel that, when we read this sloka, oh, there's something mistake happened. But again, for everything, every reason, there is really a Leela that is happening for the Supreme Lord. It is very, very difficult for us to understand. And we have to clearly understood, the way that Brahmana and Kshatriya, you can clearly see, from the same family or descent of a sage, any Brahmana is possible or also Kshatriya is also possible. So what we have to understand, it's clearly what Krishna is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, Chaturvarna Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasa. So it is purely based on the Guna Karma. These are categorized, not basing on the birth, right? Shloka 11, can anyone help me, Professor Mataji, to please read this one?
Prabhuji, can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji, Janvi Mataji, please. Hare Krishna.
प्रसादीत सत्यवत्या मैवं भूर् इति भार्गवः अत तर्हि भवेत् पुत्रो जमदाग्निस्ततो अभवत्. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Satyavati, however, pacified Richika Muni with peaceful words and requested that her son not be like a fierce Kshatriya. Richika Muni replied, "Then your grandson will be of a Kshatriya spirit." Thus, Jamadagni was born as the son of Satyavati. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So we clearly see here, Ruchika Muni was definitely very upset, right? Very, very upset. But he cannot take his spell back. Once it is done, it is done. And they have also eaten. So that spell started working inside the wombs of both the Matajis, right? Satyavati and also the mother of Satyavati. Now, Satyavati, what she started doing, she doesn't want, to have a Kshatriya son, I mean, who is very, very fierce. So she started pacifying Ruchika Muni with very nice words, peaceful words. But then you see it works. So what it actually says, that humility and pacification, in the bhakti will always help. Even the other person is very, very angry, if you are humble enough, if you are really so humble and you pacify the other person, it works. The outcome will change definitely, right? And here, the transfer of quality shows how destiny can be adjusted by prayer. You see here, the Satyavati is actually doing a prayer, requesting Ruchika Muni. And then what he blessed, then pacified by the prayer, what he blessed, he said, okay, if not your son, but your grandson will be of a Kshatriya spirit. This can be halted temporarily, but this has to be continued with your grandson as a Kshatriya spirit. That I can do, but not more than this. You see here, Professor Mataji, it's a very, very important lesson learned out of this sloka. Prayers do help. So sometimes the situation seems so difficult, so horrible for us that, we don't see any way out of it. But prayers do help here. The next sloka here. Sloka 12 and 13, I will read. Sa cha bodh sumahat punya kaushiki loka pavani renoha sutam renukam vai Jamadagnir uvahayam tasyam vai bhargava rishi sotava sumad adayaha yaviyam yajna etasam rama iti abhivrushtaha. Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Satyavati later became the sacred river Kaushiki to purify the entire world, and her son Jamadagni married Renuka, the daughter of Renu. By the semen of Jamadagni, many sons headed by Vasuman were born from the womb of Renuka. The youngest of them was named Rama or Parashurama. Again, let's see the complete sequence here. I will show the complete chart of the family hierarchy here. So here from Gadi, Gadi had a son, Vishwamitra, and the daughter Satyavati. Satyavati got married to Ruchika Muni, and both of them, Satyavati and Ruchika Muni, are blessed with Jamadagni, and Jamadagni got married to Renuka here, right? And Renuka and Jamadagni, they got blessed with so many sons, headed by Vasuma, and the youngest of all of them was Parashurama. You see here, Professor Mataji, today, how many of us remember our great grandfather's name? Okay, many of us might remember up to grandfather, but do we remember our great grandfather's names? Sometimes we remember because when we do this yearly how is it called? Tatinu అంటారు కదా. When we do all these things, when we offer the Shraddha and all these things, we have to tell at least 2-3 generations our great grandfather's names. In that way, we remember up to 2 to 3 generations. But you see here, generation after generation, generation after generation. That is how actually the lineage is so important. They remember the names. So Prabhupada clearly stresses the importance of the family hierarchy. That is how. That is why, in those days, in all Puranas and all our spiritual books, it is always referred with the name of the father. How Krishna is always referred not directly as a Krishna, Vasudeva Krishna, right? So always taking the names of father, okay, or the mother, or both the father and mother. That is how Yashoda Krishna, Vasudeva Krishna. That is how always the family lineage, it shows the importance. Okay, here there is nothing much here, Shloka 12 and 13. So we have to understand Satyavati later became the sacred river Kaushiki. So what is the understanding out of here? Srila Prabhupada, noticed that the great personalities sometimes become rivers or holy places because to benefit the humanity. Because the river has always a great purpose to the humanity. Now Satyavati, after seeing that, finally her purpose of life is really happening, she became finally turned to water, a great river called Kaushiki, so that she can purify the entire world, right? And now, what is this Jamadagni's role? Jamadagni had many sons. As a Brahmana says, he is actually a Brahmana says, right? Now, his son Parshuram has become Kshatriya, but he is still a Brahmana. Jamadagni embodied austerity and dharma, but his lineage carried Kshatriya-like qualities due to oblation mix-up. We all remember this. Now, who is Parshuram? Parshuram is not a normal one. He is the Shakti Avesh avatar. So we all remember there are different types of avatars of Supreme Lord, and one of these avatar of Parshuram is Shakti Avesh avatar, and it is directly incarnation of Vishnu. Now, if we see here, why Parshuram has come? What is the reason why Parshuram has to come? I mean, why Supreme Lord has to come in the form of Parshuram here? Clearly in Bhagavad Gita, he mentions that Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyudhanam adharmasya tadatmanam sujamyaham. So whenever the dharma falls, then finally he comes by himself. He clearly says that is the reason the avatar of Parshuram is taken. But what is exactly the reason that we will see in the next slokas. Shloka 9.15.14. Can anyone help Prabhuji Mataji? Can anyone help me to read, please?
I can do, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, please, Mataji.
Yam ahurvasudevamsham hayhayanam kulantakam trisaptakritvoya imam chakre nikshatriyam mahim. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Learned scholars accept this Parshuram as the celebrated incarnation of Vasudev, who annihilated the dynasty of Kartavirya. Parshuram killed all the Kshatriyas on earth 21 times. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Parashurama killed all the Kshatriyas on the earth 21 times. So what does this indicate, Prabhuji Mataji? That cycle of corruption, you know. So Parshuram has killed all the corrupted kings on the complete planet. But then again, there comes a new set of kings who becomes corrupted. So this cycle continued so many times that Parshuram had to kill Kshatriyas on the earth 21 times. So you clearly understand the cycle of corruption is never ending. It goes and goes on and on, on and on. And then, that incarnation of the Supreme Lord has to come to clear that all the adharma, right? So that is actually the understanding. So who is this Kartavirya? So his full name is Kartavirya Arjuna. Of course, I will give a little background here. Anyway, the next slokas will talk much more about it. Little background to just understand who is Kartavirya. Kartavirya is actually, a mighty king coming from Haihaya dynasty. And his capital city is in
Heard the
Mahishmati.
name, but not coming, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji,
Somewhere heard the name Kartavirya. Not able to
somewhere?
get connection.
Acha, you, Kartavirya. But I could connect to Prabhuji. He is ruling from his kingdom from this city called Mahishmati. So this one we can link. Our Bahubali film, we remember right? That Mahishmati. So he is ruling from the Mahishmati on the banks of Narmada. Right? And he actually got blessing from Lord Dattatreya and he gets immense strength. And he gets a boon of the strength equal to 1,000 arms. His reign was so prosperous that he defeated the powerful enemies like even Ravana. He defeated even Ravana. That will come almost in the last sloka of today's session. And over the time, what happened actually, his pride and arrogance became too much and it overpowered his devotion, what he had actually from Lord Dattatreya. That was the problem, right? And finally, again, there was a clash with the Jamadagni and something happened between Jamadagni and Jamadagni and Kartavirya, and Parshuram wanted to actually take a revenge and he had to actually overpower Kartavirya. So the story continues, but just to understand who is Kartavirya. Shloka 15. Druptam kshatram bhuvo bharam abrahmanyam aninasat rajastamo vrutam mahan falguni apikrute amhasi. Translation purport by S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When the royal dynasty, being excessively proud because of the material modes of passion and ignorance, became irreligious and ceased to care for the laws enacted by the Brahmanas, Parshurama killed them. Although their offenses were not very severe, he killed them to lessen the burden on the world. So, Prabhuji Mataji, we have to really see here. What is the role of Kshatriyas? The role of Kshatriyas is they must govern according to the guidelines and the rules set by the Brahmanas. Very clear. How the kingdom has to be governed was actually decided not by the king. The rules and guidelines were set by the Brahmanas, the kings were following. That is why in those days, king, any type of decision he has to take, he was always consulting a Brahmana and accordingly they were making decision. But what is happening here? The Kshatriya, Kartavirya, he became so aggressive, he became so much of proud, pride feeling that he started gaining more attachment to the material modes of passion and ignorance. He became so irreligious because he was thinking that no one can stop him. Literally, became so powerful, and at certain point, his bhakti is overpowered completely by these material attachments that nothing can happen to him and no one can conquer him. Now, Prabhupada, actually, Srila Prabhupada has a link to this today's thing, what is happening, situations. If you see, the monarchies that were abolished in the modern times, but often replaced by leaders, right? What type of leaders do we have? All this mercantile and the worker class, they become leaders whose qualities are even getting more and more degraded. Isn't it true? Today, do we have really a Brahmana as a, Brahmana guiding a king? Do we have the type of system today in this modern world? We never had it. But Prabhupada here clearly stresses that, if we have a system where the king is governed by a Brahmana, like a God-conscious man. Brahmana here means literally not a Brahmin, but a God-conscious person. Then definitely that type of governance will really be the best to the complete planet. That's what always Srila Prabhupada highlighted. And fortunately or unfortunately, today we have such a leader to our country who is himself actually God conscious person, and we see a better world compared to the previous, right? So Srila Prabhupada stresses that someone who is into the Krishna conscious movement, if he or she can really guide a leader to rule this planet or to rule this country, then that country will flourish really very, very good. Kalikale Namarupe Krishna Avatara. So Lord appeared in this holy name. So when we really take such a holy name, then obviously that spirituality will spread, and that with that spirituality, with that bhakti, definitely the governance would be better. Shloka 16. Sri
I
Rajo
can.
Uvacha.
Sorry, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, someone wants to read, please.
Raghunandan Prabhuji.
Dandot Pranam Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, please, Prabhuji.
Srimad Bhagavatam 9.15.16. Shri Rajo Vacha King Tad Amo Bhagavato Rajanyai Ajitatmabihi Rutam Yena Kulam Nashtam Kshatriyanam Abhikshanashaha. King
Translation
Parikshit
also.
inquired from Shukadeva Goswami, what was the offense that the Kshatriyas who could not control their senses committed before Lord Parashurama, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead?
For which the Lord annihilated the Kshatriyas dynasty again and again. Yeah, that's what King Parikshit Maharaj is inquiring Sukadeva Goswami. What was the offense that Kshatriyas could, who could not control their senses committed before Lord Parashurama? What was actually happening? Why? What type of offenses the kings are doing? Right? For which Lord Parashurama has to kill them again and again, 21 times. So he was wondering what type of offense the kings were really making here. So again, the idea here is it doesn't depend upon the how big the offense is. The idea here is Parshuram, he was not in a position to accept even a slightest mistake, even though the offense was not a very severe one. Still, he doesn't want any ruler who is actually becoming a burden to this planet by making any offenses. Okay, so then he was killing again and again. So clearly, this shloka is establishing the role of Kshatriyas. The role of Kshatriyas, they should be governed by the Brahmanas or saintly persons. Otherwise, if the dharma falls down and they become a burden to the planet. And that is what exactly Lord Parshuram is actually trying to abolish all these rulers. Right? Shloka 17 to 19. This is a little bit 3 shlokas here. Okay, I will try
I
to read
can
them.
do
Yeah, Mataji, please, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Sripadarayana connection. Yeah. हैहयानाम् अधिपतिर्अर्जुनक्षत्रियऋषभः दत्तं नारायणां शांशाम् आराध्य परिकर्मभिः बाहून् दशशतं लेभे दुर्धर्षत्वम् अरातिषु अव्याहतेन्द्रियौजश्री तेजो वीर्ययशो बलम् योगेश्वरत्वम् ऐश्वर्यं गुणायत्रानिमादयः चचाराव्याहत कटिर्लोकेषु पवनो यथा. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shukdev Goswami said, the best of the Kshatriyas, Kartavirya Arjuna, the king of the Haihayas, received 1,000 arms by worshipping Dattatreya, the plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. He also became undefeatable by enemies and received unobstructed sensory power, beauty, influence, strength, fame, and the mystic power by which to achieve all the perfections of yoga, such as Anima and Lakhima. Thus, having become fully opulent, he roamed all over the universe without opposition, just like the wind. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Mataji. Thanks a lot, Mother. So Sukadeva Goswami is, Parishit Maharaj was inquiring, right, in the previous shloka, what was the type of offenses it was done by the kings. So then he was inquiring what happened to Kartavirya, what actually the story here, right? So the best of Kshatriya, so he was starting with a very big disclaimer here. Kartaviri Arjuna is not a normal person. He is really the best of Kshatriyas, Kartaviri Arjuna. And the king of Hayas, the dynasty is Hayas, received 1000 alms by worshipping Dattatreya. Dattatreya is direct plenary expansion, supreme person of Godhead. So he was initially very great king, at the same time also big devotee of the Lord Vishnu, and he got actually blessed by Dattatreya 1000 alms. Again, it's a literary, and also it indicates the strength, how much he could get it by just being a devotee of Lord Narayan. But then what happened? He became undefeatable by enemies and received unobstructed sensory power. You see here slowly the downfall started. Unobstructed sensory power. That means there is no limit to his sensory power. He started getting beauty, influence, strength, fame, the mystic power by which to achieve all the perfections of yoga. So we already know that the Ashtasiddhis are there, right? But by just having Ashtasiddhis, can someone become God? No. Actually, we learned this in SSR. For example, Lord Hanuman, right? Hanumanji, he is Ashtasiddhi, but he is not really the God, right? So, but this person, Kartavi Arjuna, he developed that mind, so thinking that he is like a God there, because no one is able to defeat him, and God is the most powerful, right? We all know. And he thinks himself that, yes, I am the most powerful, I am like a God now. His mode of passion and mode of tamoguna, it becomes so strong in his mind that his devotion has gone really to patala. That much he became materialistically attached. And he, having become fully opulent, he roamed all over the universe without opposition, just like a wind. So there is no Telugu cheptar, no addu adupu. He has become boundless, right here. But we have to understand, though he could achieve, this type of siddhis like anima and lagima. Anima and lagima means someone who can become so big and someone who can become so small, right? He could acquire all these type of siddhis. But what is really important message here, even though someone can acquire such type of mystic powers, but when we talk about the devotion, this is always stands superior compared to any type of siddhis. That is actually important takeaway here. So always the strength lies in the devotion to Vishnu. I think this is the last sloka. Maybe I will only read this. Hare Krishna. Tri Ratnair Avrutaha Kridam Revambasi Madokataha Vaijayantim Srajam Bibrat Rurodha Saritam Bujaiha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada Gijay. Once while enjoying in the water of river Narmada, the puffed up Kartaviri Arjuna, surrounded by beautiful women and garlanded with a garland of victory, stopped the flow of the water with his arms. Hare Krishna. So there is some story, Prabhuji. Since this is the last sloka, I will give you a little bit, background to the story. So one time, what happened? He was sitting on the, river bank of Narmada, and the puffed up, and he was surrounded by whom? Beautiful woman and garlanded with a garland of victory. So that Vaijayanti garland, what it does it symbolize? It symbolizes victory. And here it is shown, that as if like, he's wearing that is a worn in pride, showing how external symbols of success can become tools of vanity. Right? So what is the symbolism by stopping the water with his arms? He stopped really the literally, the water flow by putting his big arms, 1000 arms he has. By putting all his arms, he stopped the natural flow of the water. And by blocking the Narmada's flow, what does it represent? It represents the attempt of materialists to control the nature. Is it not true? If water flows in one direction, what you are trying to do? You try to interrupt the natural flow of water. So going against the nature, forgetting all the power ultimately belongs to the Supreme Lord. So Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita clearly says, right? Balam balavantam chaham karma raga vivarjitam dharma viruddho bhuteshu karmo asmi bhardarshaba. I am the strength of the strong. Clearly saying, I am the strength of the strong. He is the ultimate. He is everything there. But then what is happening? Kartavya Arjuna, he wanted to against the nature, go against the Supreme Lord's will. So that is, then he will learn a lesson, right? So Prabhupada here finally emphasizes that rulers must remain humble and guided by Brahmanas, otherwise they become a burden on that. So what happens here next? So because he stopped the water flow, which is actually now going in the opposite direction than the natural way, now there is a camp of Ravana. Okay, I think the next section will be taken by Santosh Aditya Prabhu. I think I don't remember. Prabhu, is it your session next? Hare Krishna, Santosh Aditya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, is your session next after mine?
Yes, Prabhuji. From
Yeah.
21 onwards side.
So I will give a few glimpses, Prabhuji, to just to close the chapter, in a proper way, this session.
Sure, Prabhu, sure.
Yeah. So
Yes,
what
Prabhu.
happens actually, this water flows in the opposite direction and there's a camp of Ravana there. Then Ravana obviously got furious. He is also very powerful. He has got 10 heads. He is also very powerful. He also thinks that, no one can defeat him. He also got lot of blessings and boons from the celestial world. So then what happened? He got so angry and then he went on a fight with Kartavirya. But Kartavirya, Arjuna, you should understand, he's so powerful. He could actually capture Ravana so easily. So easily he captures and finally he leaves him just like, as if like, he's nothing. He leaves him set free. Then Ravana, he gets so angry, so much angry. I mean, again, this all we have to understand. Just to show that Kartavya Arjuna, though he became finally so powerful, finally that, he had to fall down. How he had to fall down? Finally, one day he goes along with his army, with Sena, into the forest and he finally come across this hermitage of Jamadagni. So Jamadagni Muni, he had actually a boon. He has a Kamadhenu, right? So Kamadhenu, it is actually very powerful. We all know that Kamadhenu can give anything, whatever you ask. So when the king enters into the hermitage, then the Muni actually welcomes him with a lot of humility, and then he offers food. So whatever the Kartavirya and his men were asking, everything he could serve it immediately. So then Kartavirya Arjuna, he got a doubt how he is able to serve. Then finally he understands that yes, there is a Kamadhenu, which can serve anything, which can give anything what you ask. But then suddenly he started developing in his mind the mode of tamoguna and mode of passion. You see here how it dominates. Because of the passion, he feels that if there is a Muni who can do better than him, who can give anything, whatever anyone asks, that means he is more powerful than me. So I should not allow him to be more powerful than mode of passion. Then he wanted to capture Kamadhenu. Then once he finishes actually that prasad eating, he goes out and he tells his men, capture that Kamadhenu. Then he takes the Kamadhenu away. And finally what happens, Parshuram, when he comes to know about it, he goes back and then, he brings the Kamadhenu back. But then, what happens actually, then, there is a fight. Then finally his men comes and they kill Jamadagni. So Parshuram goes out of revenge and he kills Kartavirya. This is actually the complete story. But then, you will understand this more in details in the upcoming shlokas from His Grace Santosh Aditya Prabhu. So with this, actually, we end. But finally, the message here, Professor Mataji, is humility with devotion is the most powerful. Srila Prabhupada highlights it very, very clearly. No matter what type of material position we hold in our lives, we may be directors, we may be CEOs, we may be the vice presidents, we may be the presidents. It doesn't matter. Without humility, the downfall will definitely happen. That is the message, core message, Prabhuji and Mataji today in the session. Any questions I would like to discuss further? Hare Krishna.
Really wonderful class, Prabhuji. You gave us so many stories today.
Thank
For
you,
each
Mataji.
one, though there was not much purport, but you gave us a lot of deep dive into the stories related to that. I would like to listen to it again. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. I might have rushed a little fast, Professor Mataji. Sorry, because 8:15 I had to take my daughter to the school for her exam. Sorry if I rushed very fast. But
No
actually, there
problem.
is also not much here to explain. I hope
How
I
did you
made
prepare,
justice.
Prabhuji, like from the lectures, or how did you get these stories?
Mataji, I was trying to refer to Prabhupada's references in the internet, Mataji. I found some Prabhupada notes, and that is how I
Okay,
prepared this class.
wonderful, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So thank you, Prabhuji Mataji, for attending this session. So we close this session now. So have a nice day. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Dandavad pranam to all.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the wonderful session.
Thank you.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Prabhuji, for the island. I'll end the session here, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.